Hello everyone, and welcome to a video on the FMS-3000 as simulated in the Milviz KA350i. The purpose of this video is not to walk you through setting up the FMS for a flight, as there are already resources depicting exactly that already available, and those will be linked in the description down below. Instead, the goal of this video is to give you a crash course on what the FMS-3000 is all about, as well as some information on the plethora of different pages that have been implemented. While this alone will not be sufficient in teaching you everything there is to know about the system or how it works, it is our goal that each page and item will be covered in sufficient detail and depth to allow you, the end user, to really get a firm grasp on the system as a whole, rather than only the few pages required to enter a flight plan. With that, let's jump into the cockpit and take a nice look at the FMS-3000. So when you first power on the avionics, the FMS you'll be landed on the status page of the FMS. You can think of this as the home screen of sorts of the FMS. It's where it all begins, essentially. When the avionics are first initialized, this is the place you'll be placed. On the status page, we're able to see a lot of information about mainly our active database and pretty much just the database of the FMS-3000 and the program that it's running. So at the top, we have our nav data cycle, which is 2006, and our active database cycle below it, which displays that our database range is valid from the 21st of May 2020 through the 17th of June 2020. Below that, we have a line for a secondary database, but that is not currently implemented as of the filming of this tutorial. Below that, we have the current simulator UTC time, along with the current simulator date, and the program of the FMS software that is running, in this case build 1.1.29. If your database is out of date, this would be in yellow, not in white. Clicking LSK6 right, or the 6th line select key on the right side of the FMS, takes us to the pause init page. From the pause init page, we are able to see the FMS position, which is the position that the FMS was last loaded in. The position that the FMS is at. If it was uninitialized, it would be the position that the FMS was last at. You can see I've inputted our airport, which is Kilo Lima 35, so Big Bear City, and there's the coordinates for that. And you notice how I have already initialized our position, which is right here. If I had not initialized our position, this would be blank, this would be blank, and there would be a nice set of coordinates which set position to GNSS1 or GPS1. Going to the second page of POSINIT, we can see the FMS position and the GPS position. Moving on to the flight plan page, you can see that I already have a flight plan loaded from Kilo Lima 35 to Kilo Micro Yankee, so Big Bear City, to Monterey, California, with a distance of 289 nautical miles. From Big Bear City to Monterey, California, with an alternate of Kilo Sierra November Sierra, departing off runway 08, and our first waypoint being direct to Papa Mike Delta or Palmdale. We can see that we have a entry field right here, so if we wanted to populate a company route that was already stored in the database, we could enter its identifier and it would load it from there. Clicking on copy active will copy the entire flight plan and move it to the secondary flight plan and auto-populate all of this. Useful in the case of if something gets screwed up in flight or you just want to revert. It should be noted that the secondary flight plan page has its own secondary perf, so pretty much all that you're doing to initialize the first flight plan you have to do for the second flight plan, which makes sense. And you have your secondary perf, your secondary legs, and you can activate it. And route menu will be covered at a later time. Going back to the flight plan page, we can click next to go to page 2 of 2, and you can see that I have all of my waypoints loaded, along with all of my airways loaded. We're going Juliet 6 to Lando, Juliet 6 to Alpha Victor Echo, and direct to Bravo Sierra Romeo, etc., etc. From here, we can go to the perf init page. So on the perf init page, I already have it all filled out. We have our basic operating rate, which is 9,920 pounds in parentheses, and it's in parentheses because it cannot be changed. This is pulling the data from the defaults page, which can be changed and will be covered in a later portion. We can say our passenger weight, of number of passengers and assumed weight of each. We have 0. Our cargo, which is 0 currently. And the fuel that I've inputted, which is 2,500 pounds. Our planned cruise altitude, and our 0 fuel weight, and our gross weight, which are calculated automatically when these fields have been populated. So with that, that's pretty much the end of the pre-programmed flow, taking you from the status page to the flight plan page to the perf init page, really walking you through how to pretty much do whatever you want to do to get a flight in the air. If you would like to, that could pretty much be the end of it, and you could, in theory, fly right now if you wanted to. But that's not the purpose of this tutorial. So let's go through some more of these pages. So for simplicity's sake, we are going to go pretty much left to right, top to bottom. And we'll pretty much give you a very brief overview of each page and what you can expect to find on it. So obviously, the flight plan button will take you to the flight plan page. We've already covered this. Really nothing need to be covered. On the legs page, we have all of our waypoints, the headings of each leg, flying 280 to Palmdale, 290 to Lando, the distance between each waypoint, our target speed and target altitude for each waypoint. It should be noted that this is not a fully coupled VNAV system like you would find in a Boeing, where it's going to take the data that you entered and fly it and to meet each constraint. That's largely going to be on you. We have an option to both enable autosequence and inhibit autosequence. We can click it like that. And then our legs ones page, we can click on that, and we can see we've already entered our ISI deviation, so it's quite warm up at altitude. We have our waypoints, as well as our winds. From there, we can go to Depart Arrive, which you can currently see. These are the departures from Lima 35, the Okako 1, and our 2 runways. So if we wanted to, we can go back to the index. We can see our departures and arrivals for Big Bear, and our departures and arrivals for Monterey. And if we had a secondary flight plan, these airports would be populated right here as well. From here, we can go to our perf page, where we have some options here. So we can either enable or disable advisory VNAV. We have our perf init. We can go to our VNAV setup, which pretty much shows our parameters for our VNAV climb. We're targeting 170 indicated, or Mach 0.32. We have a speed restriction of 250 below 10,000 feet, and our transition from switching to barometric to standard will be at 18,000 feet. Next, we have target cruise speeds 290 indicated or 0.50 Mach at flight level 290. And our VNAV descents, target speed of 250 indicated at Mach 0.45. We have that 250 below 10 speed restriction, our transition altitude, and our vertical path angle, which is 3 degrees. And these 3 buttons right here are mainly for manipulating data on the MFDs, which we will not be covering in this. We'll be covering that in the PL21 section of this tutorial. So these are pretty much all done. We can go to our messages pages, which pretty much shows all of our both current and old messages. So we have our pretty much any message that was generated by the FMS will be stored in here, so it's useful when you're trying to see kind of what was going wrong and what it was complaining about. So you see I tried to select one of these keys and it said no text on PFD map. So it's not going to display any of the text when the PFD map is visible. And we can see we have an initialized position. If we click on DIR, so direct to, we can see our waypoints right here and our altitudes. So if we wanted to say go to direct Lando, and click on that, and that would take us direct Lando instead of direct to Palmdale. Go and cancel that mod. And we click on our nearest airports, and if we so choose, say we want to go direct to Romeo Echo India. This will take us direct to Romeo Echo India first. Cancel that. Yeah, so on our index page we have a lot of various miscellaneous pages, pretty much extraneous stuff that we can, configure in the FMS, such as, using magnetic instead of true, or enabling various GPSs and all of that. So the index page is really one that 90% of people are not going to ever visit for the most part. So it just really would not make sense to take a deep dive into all these pages. Main things, you have your holds page right here, which you can pretty much set up all of your holds. So if you want to hold at, say, Bravo Sierra Yankee and Bravo Sierra Romeo, you can pretty much set it hold. You're going to do a direct entry using the FAA's hold speed, a maximum of 175 knots, and 1 minute legs, your inbound course, and right turns. And if you want to, you can set instead of going off time, you can use your distances. You can use distance instead of time, essentially. We can cancel that mod. So since we're not going to go into this too much, we can go to the fix page as well. So we can pretty much enter any of our fixes that we want to. So here's our first page of index, second page of index, and our third page of index. So with that, we can go to our tuning page, and we can manually tune frequencies if we want to, instead of using the radio tuning unit. So we can change our TCAS mode, put it on standby, or TARA, or change COM1 to 122.500. Easy peasy. And we'll be able to see that COM1 change to 122.500. And that concludes our look through of the FMS-3000. We hope that you enjoyed our little crash course on the FMS, and hopefully also learned something along the way. Be sure to stay tuned for our follow-up videos, digging deep into the PL-210 and all that system has to offer. Those will be made available within the next few weeks. Stay safe and happy flying!